Alan, you are 2 months behind schedule. The company is losing sales as we talk right now. And if we don't finish the production by December 31st, we are going to shut down the company. I need you, Alan, to work with us.
I want to share something honestly with you. This is the biggest mistake I've made. No framing, no spin, just a straight admission. Where I got it wrong in my 13-year career as a sourcing architect, working with factories in China, what it cost me, and more importantly, the lesson that changed everything. My name is Dwayne Scott. I design supply chain systems that turn suppliers in China into operational assets for businesses and brands. In this video, I'll show you how I almost lost my biggest client and jeopardized a 20-year family business doing over $10 million in revenue. From one moment where I ignored my own process. I knew better, but I didn't act. So, to understand this, we need to go back 10 years back to 2016. My client, one of the biggest beer companies in the Caribbean, a real powerhouse, an iconic brand. I get a call. Something went wrong. A supplier failed them. This was my moment to shine. Preparation met opportunity. So I got on a plane from Toronto to Shanghai to Guangzhou. I was at the 119th Canton Fair, my 6th time, and by now I saw patterns of how China works and the pitfalls. My philosophy was simple: build long-term relationships with the right systems and factory in China. That's where I met Alan. He was not aggressive, very calm, easy to deal with. We sat at his booth. He specialized in swimwear. I vetted him immediately. Hey, what's your production capability? Capacity? Which markets do you serve? Who was the owner? Turns out, he was the owner. He was the Lao Ban. 30 workers, 2 production lines, very transparent, my kind of factory. Then he said, send your designs, free samples, be happy first, pay later. Oh wow, that stood out. And I did my due diligence. I visited his factory. A 5-hour train ride from Guangzhou to Chenzhou to Shishe. Small setup, nothing fancy, but a real operation. And more importantly, I had direct access to the owner, to the Lao Ban. You see, I don't just look at factories, I look at systems. In my mind, he had systems. He was qualified. Samples came good quality, but unfortunately, no order at the time. Still, I remembered Alan. He really helped me out unconditionally. Fast forward to 2024, different client, the biggest Caribbean carnival, 15,000 people strong, 2 days in the streets, dancing, non-stop energy. Real opportunity this time. I call Alan. He's at a new location, bigger space, but something felt off. It was quiet, no workers, no production, no noise, just empty space. Maybe the workers are at lunch, I thought. But if I'm honest, I should have really stopped. This was the first red flag. But I didn't, because in my head, he was already qualified. So I moved forward. Samples again, great quality, client approved, order confirmed, 4,500 pieces. I trusted the relationship. He had already been vetted 8 years ago. But something still felt off. Why was there only 2 workers in such a space? I dismissed it. Things started to move really fast and I bypassed the contract. Second red flag. We agreed on a 90-day production timeline and I built in a hidden 3-month buffer. Total timeline, 6 months. Lots of cushion. Everything looked structured. I wanted to make sure I delivered on time to my client. They were really important. Then 4 weeks later, no materials ordered. I followed up. Delays, excuses, calls unanswered, replies vague. This was the 3rd red flag, but only in hindsight I see it. Alan said, okay, don't worry. And from experience, that usually means worry. At this point, we're now moving into November. The deadline is getting closer and I can feel it. Pressure's starting to build. Remember that safety buffer, a 3-month cushion? It was disappearing very quickly. Meanwhile, He was focused on small Alibaba orders, 10 pieces, 20 pieces, while my order was 4,500. That's when it really hit me. Something wasn't right. The fourth red flag. So I flew back to China. Not planned, not strategic, just reactive. I needed to see what was going on. Alan, he didn't even show up at the train station to meet me. No message, no explanation, and that's when the situation really shifted for me. This wasn't a delay anymore. This was a loss of control. I asked to see the production, but it was not available. What? Production had been moved to another city 3 hours away. I didn't even know. I went there by myself, no coordination, no support, just trying to figure it out. I found the factory on WeChat. I walked in, production had started. That was a huge relief, but it was only about 10% done. Out of 4,500 units, wow, this situation is grim. I stayed in China. The stress was immense. No sleep, no clarity, waking up in the middle of the night. I was trying to figure it out. How do I fix something I don't even control? Calling him, no answer. Calling again, no answer. Using another number, he picks up. That's when I knew he was avoiding me. Man, this guy was unreal. Not the same Alan I vetted 8 years ago. We're now in December, and at this point, I'm stuck between two decisions. Do I stay or do I go? Because staying wasn't solving anything. I was at the mercy of the 12 workers during the order. I was calculating production rates in my head. If we can get 3 more workers, that would increase the hourly rate. We can probably finish on time. Just squeak by but finish. Great, I felt good, a viable solution. Alan, more excuses. It's busy season. It's impossible to get workers before Chinese New Year. And he was not able to hire more people. No cooperation, just stress. But he reassured me, everything will be okay. They will pick up steam and go faster. Red flag number 5. So I made a judgment call. It was December the 20th, Christmas time. I flew back to Canada. I just needed to be around family. But mentally, I wasn't there. The next day I get an update. Production is only at 50%. What? At that point, the stress went to the ceiling. It wasn't pressure anymore, it was weight, and it was heavy. Because now I'm thinking I might be responsible for bringing down the biggest music festival in the Caribbean. I couldn't switch off. Every day checking updates, pushing production, trying to keep things going from the other side of the world. Wow. Alan, vague responses. And then January 1st, 2025, New Year's Day, while everyone is celebrating, I'm on a flight back to China. Because I knew if I didn't go back, this project wasn't getting finished. This time, I didn't wait. I showed up and I put immense pressure on him. I thought he was gonna flee. But that's when the truth came out. COVID wiped out his team. He lost his workers. He was rebuilding. And everything started to make sense. The empty factory, no sales team, the silence, the delays. Alan was doing everything himself. So what about the order? Finally completed on January 17th, 2025. We had to airship everything. I stood there until the last carton left. I watched the DHL truck drive away with tears of joy. I was relieved but angry at his irresponsibility. But I knew anger would not solve anything. I said thanks, shook his hand, and just walked away. When I look back at this now, nothing was random. The signs were there. I saw them. I just didn't act on them. And that's the part I take responsibility for. Not the factory, not the situation, not Alan, just me. I relied on what used to be true instead of verifying what was true now. I moved forward based on history instead of present reality. And that's where I got things wrong. This changed how I operate completely. I no longer rely on trust. I rely on a system because sourcing isn't static. Factories change, people change, situations change. So now, every time I place an order, I requalify everything from the beginning. My mindset is, I don't ask, do I trust them? I ask, what is actually happening right now in the factory? The approach I take is very simple. I verify, is there real production going on? Are there real workers? Is my order actually being prioritized? Not once, but continuously? And did I make progress or do I need to pivot? If something feels off, I don't wait. I adjust or I move onward. Because small delays become big problems very quickly. And when I look back at this now, the biggest lesson is simple. Relationships matter, but they do not replace discipline. They don't replace process, and they definitely don't replace visibility. Now, every time I work at a factory, I re-qualify everything. I just check in, not because I don't trust people, but because I understand how quickly things change. So if you take anything from this, take this. Always vet and qualify a factory. Always funnel them with 7 steps. What's the mindset? Did I get a fair price? On-time delivery? Production capability? How's the sales agent? Can I visit the factory? And do I have access to the Lao Ban? Because the cost of assuming is always higher than you think. What a story, right? Well, I'm going to break down my full step factory funnel and the Lao Ban Protocol in the next video. So you can stop guessing and start building real supplier leverage. If this helped, hey, subscribe to the channel and I'll walk you through it step by step.